Hello everybody. So for today, I want to make another Salesforce Flow video. And just in case you're not too familiar with my channel, I do have a playlist now that goes over all the videos I made about Salesforce flows. So, if you are interested in learning more about that, feel free to check that out. And also, before we get started, just an FYI, if there are any video topics or any topics rather that you guys would like to see me cover, feel free to leave them down in the comment section down below. I try to answer as many of your questions as possible, and I try to make videos out of them as well whenever I can. So yeah, feel free to do that. Consider subscribing. I would greatly appreciate it. And let's get into it. What I want to do is I want to go over how we can use a screen flow to send out a bunch of emails all at once. And kind of the scenario that I've kind of made up just to kind of walk through this is, let's say that we have a business requirement that basically we have to create some automation that will allow us to send out a bunch of emails to any lead that has a status of open and not contacted. So essentially, here we have we're in our Trailhead org, and we see that we're in our open leads list view, and I'm sorting by lead status. So you can see here I have 3 leads that I have the status of open, not contacted. So we want to be able to send emails out to those. Now, something important to note is that we shouldn't attempt to send an email out if there is no email value in the email field. So, something to keep in mind. So with that said, let's get started. So let's go ahead and go into our setup. And from here, I'm just going to type in flows so we can go to the flow setup, and we'll just create new flow here. Now, there's many different ways we can go about this, right? Like we can just do like a record triggered flow, or maybe schedule it to run at some time. But what I'm going to do is we'll just make it a screen flow. And that way, the user can see which leads are going to be sent out, right? So yeah, like I said, we'll just choose a screen flow for now. And I guess we'll just stick with the auto layout. That's fine for now. So first thing we want to do is we want to add an element, and we want to add a get records element. Essentially what this is going to do is it's going to query our database and allow us to get, some type of record. And the record that we're interested in getting is basically just open leads, right? So I'm going to call this get open leads, like so. And I won't put a description. This is just a tutorial, but if you're doing this with the intent of pushing to production, you should use better labels and descriptions than I am right now. So like I said, we are going to get leads. So that's the object we're looking for. In our filter lead records, we want to have a condition of, let's say, that the status is equal to open not contacted. And then additionally, like how we said before, is we want to make sure that that lead even actually has an email to start with, or else, why bother sending an email, right? You can't send an email out to something that doesn't have an email. So we're going to say that it's null and it's basically false. So basically that the email is not empty, or null rather, right? So with those two conditions set, we should now basically have a collection or a list, whichever way you want to think about it, of open leads, or rather of leads that have a status of open, not contacted, and have an actual email. So what we're going to say is we want to get all the records that meet this criteria, and we'll just let Salesforce store all the fields automatically, just in case, if we want to do something down the line that's more complicated, we don't have to worry about, adding or updating this right here. So we'll click done. Now we have our records, and what we want to do now is we want to create a decision, right? So what I'm kind of envisioning here is the user clicks on a button or something, and then the screen pops up. It shows them all the leads that, that are eligible to be sent an email to. But if there aren't any, we just throw out a message saying, hey, there's nothing here, so nothing for us to do, right? So let's create a decision to kind of handle that. And what I'm going to say is, are there open leads with a question mark? And we'll let the API name auto-populate. Again, no description because I'm lazy. We'll just start with the default outcome. We'll just say that this is the open leads one right here. And the outcome that we're going to actually check for that has some condition is the one where there's no open leads. So like this. And essentially no open leads means that what we queried basically from the get records action. So what we're going to say is that no open leads, this is the decision path that we're kind of building out right now. The condition of this is that we're going to look at the action of get records, which was just getting those open leads, and we're going to say that that is null. So, and we're going to say that to true. So we're saying that if this action is null, basically meaning that we found no open leads in our database, then it should follow the path of no open leads, right? So we'll click on done. Hopefully that makes sense. Now we see here that we have two different decision paths. If there's no open leads because we didn't find anything, we go this way. And if there are open leads, then we do something else with it, right? So let's start off with the no open leads one. What I'm going to do is, like how I said earlier, we're going to create a screen. And this screen is just basically going to display the message saying there's no open leads, so nothing to do, right? So not too important here, but essentially just going to populate it, I guess. I guess we could just call this, we'll just call this email leads. That'll be like the header of the screen. And then in here, what we want to do is we want to grab a display text right here, and we'll just basically drag it right there. And here, I'm going to call this, I usually like to start, because it's asking us for the API name. I like to start off the API name with what the actual component is. So in this case, it's a display text. And then now it kind of, provide next what we actually want the display text to be. So I'm going to just say no open leads, like so. And in here, basically just provide some text, right? Saying no open leads, like that. And I guess just to make it a little bit more legible, let's center it, and then let's make it like size 18, font 18, and then maybe make it like a red or something. I don't really think this matters, but just to kind of make this look a little bit nicer. And I guess we can also bold it out. Still looks too small, so let's try like size 20 or something. And yeah, I think that looks fine, right? So, if there are no leads, this is basically what the user sees. For the buttons, let's go ahead and just, set the finish button to just close like that. And for the previous button, we don't want any previous button, and we don't want no pause button either. So, just giving the user only one option to just close it, essentially. So yeah, I think that's fine. And actually right here, what I'm going to do is just to kind of follow my convention, like how I had earlier for, the component type and then plus what we want to call that component. Let's go right here and we'll call this screen underscore. And then instead of saying email leads, I'm going to say that this screen is the no open leads screen, because that's pretty much what it is, right? So just trying to be as descriptive as possible. And then the label will make it basically the same, but without the underscore. So this screen will be called no open leads, like so. And I think that's pretty much it. So again, from the top, we try to retrieve open lead records. If there aren't any, then it goes this way to just display no open leads screen to the user. If there are open leads, and then let's kind of go ahead and handle the rest of the work. So what I want to do here is basically I want to create another screen that's going to show the user the open leads, and perhaps have like a text box that allows the user to like write a subject and a body, basically allowing the user to write a custom email that we're basically going to send out to all these open leads, right? So in order to display records, we can make use of the data table right here. So just put that right there. This data table is essentially just kind of like a list view, kind of is how I would think of it. So let's call this data table like this. And then we're going to call this open leads like that. So we're going to call this table open not contacted leads, like so, just to let the user really know and understand what they're looking at. That's never a bad thing. So the source of this table is going to be just those records that we got from our action way at the beginning. So just the leads, like so. And then I guess, so here's the neat thing about this data table is that you can let the user, basically select the things that are displayed here. Kind of like if we go back to our list view, kind of like how we're able to kind of, check the boxes and basically select something and then maybe do an action if there's some list button that allows you to do that. So I'm not going to do it here. I'm going to say it's a view only, but something that might be kind of cool is, if we have the screen flow, we can let the user select, some only the leads that they actually want to send to. And then, we can have some logic further down the flow that only sends leads out to the selected ones. It's just something that I kind of just thought of on the spot, but might be useful, for use case that you guys have in the future. I'm not going to do it here because it seems like much more work. So we'll just keep things simple. So like I said, view only. And under the configure column section, we want to just, I guess, show a few things, right? So let's show like the name or something of the lead. So we'll just add that. And then maybe also like the company. That might be nice to have. What else? Maybe like the revenue. I think there's an annual revenue one. And then I guess email, just to kind of, let us verify that what we're seeing is only leads that actually have emails. That might be nice to have. So I think that's fine. The name, company, revenue, and the email. And for component visibility, we'll just always make it visible, and we don't really want to worry about this advanced section. I think that's fine. So that looks good. These buttons right here, I'm going to also take care, remove the, the finish button. Let's set it to send emails, like this. The previous button, no previous button, no pause button. We'll just make this as simple as possible. And like how I said, we also want to allow the user to, customize the email that we'll be sending out. And just to let you guys know, I think I'm also going to make a video on, a similar thing that we're doing here now, but instead of letting the user choose, what's in the email, we'll basically just have the flow, like maybe grab it from an email template or something. So if you guys are interested in that, let me know, subscribe so you can be ready for that. It'll probably come out like in a week or two. But anyways, so what we want to do is let's grab the text. Yeah, we'll grab the text and we'll make this label email subject. And for the API name, like I said, I like to prepend it with the type of component that is. So we'll say this is a text email subject. Let's make it required, no default value, and leave everything else as is. And then for the subject, since they might type a bit more than what the text allows, let's go ahead and grab the long text area, like so. And then same thing for here, we'll just call this email body, like that. For the API name, we'll just call this long text area email body. Also make it required, and we'll leave it empty. So essentially the user will see all the leads that we're about to email out, and then they can provide a custom email subject and email body. So that looks good to me. Let's click done on this. Oh, and looks like we have 2 errors. Oh yeah, we forgot to give our screen an actual name. So for the screen name, what should we give it? Maybe something like, say this is a screen, and then email open not contacted leads. And I just realized I was typing in the label, so I'm going to go ahead and, oh, I guess it did it for me. But for the label, we don't want to have underscores, so we'll leave it like this. Get rid of the underscores and make sure I spelled everything right. So we don't need to say this is a screen for the label. So the label is going to read email, and then maybe we'll make this a little bit more legible by putting this in quotes and like a dash right there. So email open not contacted leads. I think that looks fine. Okay, we'll click done. Hopefully we have no more errors. So now we have this in our flow, right? The user will see and be able to write subject and body for the email that they want to email out the leads to. And now that we have that, basically we can start doing the real bulk of the work, right? So what we want to do is basically iterate through these records that we got up here and then just send out an email for each one of those, right? So let's go ahead and create a loop right here. And we'll call this loop just loop open leads, I guess. We're going to loop through the leads we got from the get records action and just go from first to last. That's fine. So once we have the loop here, the first thing we want to do is send out an email. So let's grab an action and then we can just, I think we can just search for it. So we have right here, send email, just a simple email. And the label we want to use is just, I guess, email open lead, like that. The body is going to be the text that the user wrote in our screen previously, which we can go to by looking at screen components right here, and then looking for the one that's called the email body, like so. And same thing for the subject. We're just going to grab the subject that the user wrote earlier. And then right here, we want to make use of this recipient email addresses, comma separated. So include that one right here. And we're going to look for, well, essentially, we're going to grab the variable that we're currently iterating through, or the record rather, that we're currently iterating through in our for loop. And it's right here. So current item from the loop. Let's click into it. And then let's grab the email right here. So that's pretty simple. Let's include a sender email address. So the sender email address should be the user that basically fired the flow, right? So let's grab the global variable of user, and then let's grab that user's email, like so. So basically pretty simple, right? Looks good. So let's click done. And now, like how we have here, you know, for every single record, we're going to iterate through those, and then we're going to just fire off an email, right? Now there's something that very important that I want to make a note of. The reason why I put this in a for loop instead of just, you know, putting the action like right here outside of a for loop instead is because if we click into this right here, this recipient email address, you know, whether it's comma separated or whether it's in a collection, if you don't use a for loop and just, you know, grab an email and put it in there, it's going to grab all the emails that are comma separated and then send out an email with a CC of every single email, you know, there. So, you know, kind of looks weird, and you might not want to, you know, basically have a CC of two unrelated leads put together, because then they know that you reached out to both of them, but it's in the same email, and if they reply, you know, they'll be able to see that that email is being sent out to some other unrelated person. So I hope that makes sense, but yeah, that's basically why I put it in a for loop, so that, you know, we're only sending out that one email to that one person. There's no CCs, there's no, you know, multiple two addresses or anything like that. Now, I don't know if this is the best practice. I'm not sure, but you know, I did it this way just to avoid that problem that I just described. Just something to keep in mind. Okay, and now I want to do some other things that I kind of forgot to mention. Basically, whenever we send out an email on these leads, let's also go ahead and update the status, right? You know, because once we send out an email, they're no longer not contacted, right? They should be maybe like something like working contacted. That makes more sense. So what we want to do next is let's go ahead and add another thing right here, and let's do an assignment. So for this assignment, let's just call this like update fields or lead fields or open lead fields. I'm not sure. That might be too descriptive since, you know, technically we're already in a for loop, which is iterating through an open lead. But it's fine. So what we want to do is we're gonna update a variable on the current item that we're iterating through. So let's grab that one right there. And we want to update the status. So let's grab the status. And then we'll just make it equal to, like how I said, the working contacted right here. And then we'll click on done. Now, there's like a big like warning flag, I guess you can say, here. And I've covered it in my previous flow videos. So, you know, feel free to go through those. But essentially, just by updating the status on the current open lead that we're iterating through doesn't actually, you know, commit that to memory, right? Essentially what we have to do is, you know, after we're done iterating through, at some point, like way down here, after the last element has been iterated through, we have to do an update records right here. But the interesting thing about the update records is if we were to basically just say, okay, update the records, you know, that we had iterated through that should now contain the the updated status, which is these right here, leads from get open leads. If we were to do that, for some reason, this leads from the get open leads, which is from the if we go up here from this right here, doesn't actually contain the updated assignment that we made right here, which is kind of weird, right? Like you would think if you're updating a field through a for loop and the for loop is iterating through these get records themselves, well then if you did an update on these records at the end, it should contain the updated assignment, but it doesn't. So all is to say that we basically have to do another assignment. So let's do an assignment right here. And what we're going to do is essentially take that current open lead record that we're iterating through and then add it to a brand new collection variable. And then that collection variable will be the one that we actually update, because that collection variable contains all those open leads that we changed the status to open working or working contacted. I hope that makes sense. If not, feel free to leave down your questions in the comment section down below, and I'll do my best to explain it better. So this assignment, we're gonna, let's just call it like something like add open lead to updated leads collection. I don't think that's a good name, but it's descriptive enough, I guess. So we want to do is let's create a new resource. And like how I said, this resource will be a variable. And this variable, let's just call this collection updated leads, like so. The data type will be a record. And we want to check this box, allow multiple values, essentially calling it a collection or a list, a list that contains multiple records, right? Is what it is. And the type of collection or list is a lead list or collection. Okay. So we've now created a brand new variable that's going to contain our updated leads. And so we want to say is, grab this collection updated leads variable that we just created, and we want to add something to it. And the thing that we want to add is the current open lead that we're iterating through in our for loop. And just grab the whole thing and basically just throw it into that brand new collection. And then we'll click done. So now the way it looks is, you read it from top to bottom, right? So we're going to iterate through each lead that we got from our get records action. First, we're going to send an email out, and then we're going to go ahead and update the status to working contacted. But then, because of the whole issue that I explained to you with the update records, we're then going to take that entire lead and we're going to basically dump it into a brand new collection variable. And that collection variable we called collection updated leads. So I hope that makes sense. So essentially, it's now going to iterate through the entire get records action thing that we got the records from. Once it's done after the last one, now we can go ahead and do an update records action right there. And this one we can just call update leads, like so. And we want to just use the IDs and fields from a record or record collection event. We don't really want to specify. That would be too much work. The one we want to use is this collection updated leads, right? Because that's the one that contains the open leads with the updated status. Okay, so just select that. We'll click done, and now we have actually updated our leads. This might be overkill, but let's go ahead and add another screen just to kind of indicate, to the user that the emails were sent out and that the leads were updated. I think it's kind of nice to have that UX experience, I guess, just so that the user isn't, left wondering, did it actually work or not? Because the way it's going to happen is, they'll send out the emails, status will get updated, and then the flow basically will just reset to the start, right? At the beginning again. And that's fine, but we want to let the user know, hey, it worked, or it didn't work, or there was some error, right? Okay, so in order to do that, let's create another screen right here. And then this screen, we'll call it screen, actually. This is going to be called, I guess, just email sent. And status updated. That might be too verbose again, but I think it's fine. It gets the point across. So again, for my API name, I like to add the type of component is to the beginning, just to make things more explicit. So here again, kind of like how we had for the no open lead screen, we're just gonna throw in a display text, and we only need one, not two. So let me go ahead and erase that. For this one right here, I'm gonna call this display text, and we'll call this I guess like success message. That's fine. And then for the actual message itself, we can say something like email with an apostrophe, with parentheses s, because there might be multiple or there might not be. And then we'll just say sent, and then and lead status updated. I don't know, something simple, I guess. And then here, let's go ahead and change the color maybe to like a green or something, like a dark green might be nice, like that. We'll make this font size 20, and then we'll put it in the middle, make it bold, and then that looks fine, I guess. Same thing here for the buttons. Let's go ahead and get rid of the previous button and no pause button, and then let's change the custom label for the finish button to something like close. I think that's fine. So let's click done. And now essentially we have this flow. It's not that complicated, right? But again, kind of going through it one more time from the top. The user starts the screen flow. Then we try to retrieve all leads that have the status of, if we click into it, the status of open contacted and they have an actual email. So email is not null. If there are no open leads, this decision path goes to the left and then shows the user a screen that just says no open leads that they can then close, and then we're done. If there are open leads in the system, the user is presented with a screen that shows all those open leads that have an email. The user can then write a subject and a body. After that, we then iterate through each one of those records. We send out an email, we update the status to working contacted, and then we add that entire open lead to a brand new collection variable. We iterate through all of those records, and then once we're done, we do an update records action that updates, or that uses the collection updated leads variable to essentially update the status of all those leads. Once that's done, at the end, we finally just have a nice little screen to show the user that the emails were sent out and that the lead status was actually updated. And that's pretty much it. It's not too much more complex than that. So let's give it a run. We're gonna click save here, and I guess we can give this a name, something like I don't know, like maybe mass email open leads. I think that's fine. So we're gonna just click save on that. Let's go ahead and we're gonna hit the debug button just so if there are any errors, we can actually kind of see what the errors are and then maybe work through those. So I'm gonna just click run right here, and if we go back to our open to our list view right here on our open leads and just hit refresh real quick, we see that we have 3 open not contacted leads, but one of them does not have an email, right? So what we should be seeing here is just 2 emails, right? Which is what we see right here. So that looks good to me. Let's go ahead and give this a subject. So we're going to say test mass emails or something, doesn't really matter. And then the email body, well, we're going to say, hello, here's an email, something simple like that. Let's go ahead and click send emails. And then we do indeed get the screen of email sent and lead status updated. So if we click close here, let's run it one more time just to make sure that the other path does indeed work. So if I run it again, now we see that there are no open leads, because if we refresh our list view, we can see here that these 2 are now set to working contacted. We still have 1 open lead that has, no email, and that is as expected, right? So looks like everything is working fine. And just to show that the email actually did get sent out, let me pull up my email real quick, and we can see here that we indeed did get the email. Obviously, because I don't have any email service set up on Salesforce, and it's just sending it through the Salesforce email thing. We see this thing right here. Also, I think it's because I essentially sent the email to myself, because my Trailhead has my email, so it's a little weird. But yeah, here's all the information. We can kind of just ignore the careful message. So it looks good to me. One last thing before we go is I want to go over, essentially we created this screen flow, but there's no real way for a user in our system to access it. So what we could do is perhaps give the user a way to click a button or something so that they can actually, run the screen flow for themselves, right? So what I'm thinking we can do is, I guess we can just create like a list view button or something. Might not look that elegant, but I think it'll do the trick, right? So to use a list view, we first have to get the URL of the screen flow. So, like I said, the flow that we had created is called this one right here, mass email open leads. What we want to do is go to the end right here, and then we can just click on the view details and versions. And we should have the URL right here. So we can basically just copy and paste this right here. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this to my clipboard. And now let's go ahead and go into the object manager. And I guess just search for leads right here in the search box, or lead. I think it's called lead. Yeah. We're going to click into lead. And then let's go to the button links and actions. And then let's just go ahead and create a new button or link right here. We're going to make this a list button. This whole display checkboxes for multi-record selection doesn't really matter. I mean, we don't have that ability because, our flow doesn't expect to receive anything. It just kind of looks for the records themselves. So I don't really think it's relevant here. For the behavior, we can just leave it as is. The content URL, same. And then we can essentially just plop this thing down right here that we had copied to our clipboard. And we should be good to go, right? So let's go ahead and give this a name. We're going to say like email, or rather mass email open leads, like so. And let's go ahead and do a quick save just to make sure everything's fine. And yep, it's saved fine. So now we have to add it to our actual list view, right? So let's go to the list view button layout. And then let's just go ahead and edit this. And I already have, an email open lead when I created it, just to make sure that I wasn't crazy and the demo was going to go fine. Let's go ahead and add the one that we just created together. Click save right here. And now let's go ahead and just refresh this page right here. And on the top right hand corner, if we click this little caret thing, we now see our new list view button. So if I click this mass email open leads, it should open up the screen flow. And of course, because there's no open leads, we, get this message, right? If I hit close, well, it just basically just stays on the screen, right? Which is kind of why I said it's not as elegant, because, it would be kind of nice if we just closed this, it went back to the leads list view, but that's topic for another day. It might be a better idea to use like a lightning component to displays instead. Not really sure yet, but I think I have made a video about that in the past, so feel free to look at the playlist if you are interested. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this tutorial. Like I said, if you have any questions, leave them down in the comment section down below. Consider subscribing. I would greatly appreciate that, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.